Hey, welcome into Attacking Third, brought to you by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865, alongside former NWSL champion Darian Jenkins, NWSL analyst Aaron West. I'm Lisa Carlin. We're dressed a little differently today. We're rocking our kits. We missed it. So what are you wearing, Aaron?
I am wearing the Ajax Daily Paper shirt. This is honestly in honor of Lily Johannes. We're probably trying to talk about it, but I want her in an Olympic team, and I loved her debut. So little Ajax love.
Spoiler alert, you have her on your Olympic team. I love that.
I didn't say, and then maybe, yeah.
Ooh. All right, Darian, you're looking good over there. What are you wearing?
Thank you. I rocked my Jamaica kit, one of their new to the drop. Yeah,
Fire,
I'm a big fan. Jamaica always has good kits.
Yeah, that one looks really good.
They always do the green right.
The Flames, yes.
Well, in honor of some latest news coming out of LA, Angel City has brought Kristen Press back into training. So I'm rocking Angel City's kit because she's back in and she's training. And that is just
welcome back press.
Exactly, a little welcome back press. She's not on the back of this one though, but I'm still wearing it in general. You could have just not
said that, and you just
no one would know.
No one would have known.
Okay, should we just start the show over? What do I do? I know, I've tried too hard over here. Well, we have a lot to get through today. We're doing news. We have a special interview. Houston Dash defender Paige Nielsen is joining us. Sandra will also join, and we'll look ahead to the NWSL weekend to come. There are a lot of matches upcoming this weekend. But first, we have big news out of London. This morning, it all dropped out of Chelsea. Forward Sam Kerr, she pulled a little 1-2 punch on us, but ultimately she is staying in London. She signs a 2-year contract extension at Chelsea, keeping her there through 2026. This comes on the heels of Emma Hayes leaving the club, and there were potentially some fears that other players would leave, especially someone like Sam Kerr, who is as decorated as she is. She's won 10 trophies since signing for the club in 2020. She won Super League 5 times, FA Cup 3 times, League Cup twice, Golden Boot twice. She is still coming back from her ACL injury that she suffered in January of 2024. But with this re-signing of Kerr, Aaron, how much stability does it give the club right now?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a player of her quality who commits her future to the club, it's good news for Chelsea fans. It's good news for Chelsea hierarchy. I'm imagining a Myra Ramirez, Sam Kerr with like a Kat Macario behind them. So many ways for them to play. I think they will be terrifying together when she does hopefully come back to full strength. But it's great news for the Chelsea faithful. I hate it as an Arsenal supporter, but
Throw me official when she's healthy back in there too. Like this is a scary
Their forward line
Chelsea
is really,
lineup.
really
It's really, really scary to go against. But I love it. The commitment, like you said, is so important. I think for everybody else looking at this club, Emma Hayes leaving a huge imprint on this team, knowing that there's someone like Sam Kerr who's Emma Hayes coded that's still going to be there, still have that fire, that heart that's going to be at this club is really good for them looking at the future.
Kerr put out a video on social media in conjunction with Chelsea, and at the end of it, she says, "What, you guys really thought I would leave with just 99 goals?" So good. Go check it out on Chelsea's socials. Well, as one player announces they're staying in the Super League, another player announces they are leaving from Manchester City. English defender Esme Morgan has announced Thursday morning that she has signed with Washington Spirit in the NWSL. It's a 4-year deal through 2027. She's eligible to join the team July 15th. And Esme, is part of this announcement, Morgan said, quote, "The opportunity to work under Jonathan Giraldez, one of the world's best coaches, is really exciting, and I look forward to learning from him and pushing myself to become the best player I can be, hopefully helping the team to success." So Esme Morgan joins Washington Spirit. Darian, how can Morgan strengthen the Spirit roster right now?
The Spirit's biggest deficiency this season has been their defense. They haven't been consistent. They haven't been solid. I think they're really missing that solid center back that Sam Staub was for them. So for Esme Morgan to now come in and commit long term, this is a long contract, knowing that they're going to have a really good defender in the back that they can build from, they can build their team around defensively, that can also play forward. She's very technically savvy, is really good for this team, and she fits Jonathan Giraldez's style. We can already kind of see it's coded in this Spanish style way when they attack, and I think we just are missing that from that back line and from the goalkeeper from Aubrey Kingsbury because she's so good with her feet. I like the combination of those two being really stable in the back line for the Spirit.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. She fits Hernandez's style perfectly. On the eye test, she's a 23-year-old player who has international experience. She's really, really comfortable on the ball on her feet. And as I was looking into her, I looked at some of her stats, and she's 94th percentile for passes attempted, 97th percentile for pass completion, 98th percentile for progressive passes. For when you're looking for someone who's good at the ball with the ball at your feet, it's like, okay,
of Hernandez. Yeah, and like how he wants to play.
Yeah, perfectly fitted.
So it's no wonder she gave a shout to Herrandez, who is yet to join Washington, right? He will come from Barcelona once his season is done there in Spain, as well as Esme Morgan joining Washington Spirit. But players aren't the only ones moving around right now. There are moves happening in the front office. Cami Ashton has been announced as San Diego Wave's newest sporting director and general manager. She will, in this current role that she's in with San Diego, she will lead player acquisition and scouting. She'll manage the coaching staff, technical staff, and developmental programs, as well as oversee the soccer operations budget and the team's salary cap. She will report directly to club president Jill Ellis. Ashton joined San Diego from Kansas City Current, where she was the GM since January 2022. During her stint at Kansas City, she led them to the 2022 NWSL championship and also brought in some huge players like Dabinia, Vanessa Bernardo, Bia Zanarata, Temwa Shawinga. What does this move tell you about San Diego or Cami Ashton, Darian?
This tells me that they're looking forward. They need more players on their team that are kind of fitting this new adaptive style we're seeing Casey Stoney put into play for San Diego that we've been very critical of, that really hasn't come to fruition. So I think this move with Cami Ashton moving there and knowing she is really good at getting high quality players to teams that fit the system, that fit the vision of the coach. She's very collaborative. And having a former player in a front office position, I think, is so important because you relate better, you understand the standard, you understand what needs to be improved, especially coming from Kansas City, who has this fortress of a stadium now. She knows what needs to be done at San Diego for them to get back to the San Diego that they were last year.
Yeah, I think that she's shown herself to be very, very astute in bringing in talent. It's going to be really interesting to see that balance of managing player personalities and player comfort and then building the best team possible. So especially for Cami, she's going back. She's from Southern California, so she's going back home. It makes sense for her to be in an area where she's comfortable. But I think that this club is going to be pretty ruthless about who they bring in and how they build this team up.
Yeah, a lot of changes to come for this San Diego side, and hopefully to bring in some different players like internationals that can come and bolster this squad, because that is a strength of Cami Ashton for sure when she is in the front office of some of these teams. After nearly 2 years of waiting on the sideline, U.S. Women's National Team World Cup winner and Angel City forward Kristen Press is back in training with Angel City. Press tore her ACL in June of 2022, and she has endured such a lengthy rehab process, including 4 surgeries. But this week, she is back on the pitch in training, Aaron. I mean, it has been such a journey for Press, being Angel City's first signing and them building a club and a team around her ultimately. I mean, what a journey for her finally to be back.
Yeah, as someone who's been through injuries myself, and I've seen it in a number of professionals, what that can do to your psyche, and to see the joy just moving around doing warm-up drills, you can see just that smile on her face. She's just so happy to be out with the team in full training. And that makes me really happy as a fan to see someone who's been through hell and back, basically, in football terms. To get to do what she loves is amazing.
For Press, it's such a big deal. But Darian, for the club and for her teammates, how much of a lift does it as a player just knowing, hey, Press is here at training, even if she's not necessarily going to be available to play in the match?
It's hugely positive. I mean, imagine having Kristen Press just in your locker room next to you while you're doing reps. You have Claire Emsley, Alyssa Thompson, players that have probably grown up watching Press and idolized her. She's played with Sid LaRue. This is just really good for the chemistry of Angel City, I think, especially in the TAC, especially for team camaraderie, because you have just immense leadership in Kristen Press. And you see how happy she is, as you mentioned. That brings so much to a team when somebody comes in and is just positive and grateful to be there. And a stellar player is only going to elevate their game. And I actually think that's something they've really been missing. We've seen moments of brilliance from them, but they lack leadership in some ways. They lack some execution in certain parts where they just need somebody to guide what's going on in the game, and I think she can provide that.
Especially at this point in the season when you played a lot of games. It's a grind, it's a slog. When you see a player like Kristen Press come in who's just happy to be in training, it can kind of give you a lift, like, all right, we're going to do the work today because look at her. She's just happy to be here with us.
And also, it's Kristen Press.
Yeah.
It's Kristen Press. If this girl's healthy, she's playing. So that is going to raise the standard of everybody there.
So much you can learn as a player when you're not player and you are forced to be sidelines and watch the game and training from the bench. You learn and you have a different perspective as the game and also a better appreciation once you do 100%. Get back out there. And you can read that on Press's smile in these videos of her at training, just how happy she is to be back there. And hopefully it adds a different wrinkle to Angel City because they've got match days coming up and they need to be picking up points. This could be the lift that they need. We'll see. We'll talk more about NWSL weekend preview later in the episode, but don't go anywhere. We have a special interview with Houston Dash defender Paige Nielsen next. We are so pleased to be joined now by Houston Dash defender Paige Nielsen as we watch that game-winning goal from Houston taking on Angel City. Paige, I couldn't help but watch you smile and laugh when you watched that video. What were you thinking rewatching that?
I mean, I just rethought my thought before and that I was going to retire after that moment. It really couldn't get any better than that. And much love to Angel City. I still love them, of course, but it felt unbelievable. And I was going to retire. I'm okay with my career after that.
Well, we're sure glad you didn't retire after that because now we get to chat with you. And I know Houston is glad you didn't retire either. In April, you were traded from Angel City to Houston Dash, and you've had to adjust to a new city and a new team. What has been the biggest adjustment for you in this transition?
The heat.
Oh, yeah.
I was the #1 sweater on Angel City, and I think I am here. I lost 7 pounds in 45 minutes, and that is something to get adjusted to. But for real, I think it was more the entire style of play with a new difference. I was with Angel City for 3 years and DC for 3 years, and I forgot they have to start all over with playing style, learning relationships with players. And I think that was the hardest adjustment for sure. And I'm still adjusting, but I think we're improving.
Now, Paige, it's been really cool for me to watch your career. I got to train with you, play pickup with you when you were a young player, and now you are an established veteran in this game. You're coming up on 100% appearances. How does it feel to be the one in the locker room who people come to for wisdom now, having gone through this journey?
I mean, it feels awesome. Looking back at it, when I was playing pickup with you, I lived just to play pickup and hope to get minutes on the field, and I had to play overseas so I could be an established player. And now I understand and see what these young players are going through, and it gives me purpose to help not only the team but these individuals that have a long, amazing career ahead of them, as long as they put in all the work and do pickup with Aaron.
Paige, you're such a decorated player and you were such a workhorse, and I think you've overcome so much in your journey that has been inspiring to watch, and we're all cheering you on every time you're on the field because you can just see your heart. What's next in your game? Because you're almost at your 100th appearance, as Aaron said. You're now a leader on Houston Dash. What's next for you? What are you thinking you want to improve on?
That's like the scariest question. I'm not going to lie. I've kind of made every goal. When you get older, it gets hard. I know you've been through that, and you have to redefine your goals, your whys, and the next step for the team obviously is to make playoffs and win a freaking championship. But individually, it's more, how can I keep influencing the team, the younger girls? How can we develop a successful program here? Of course, national team invites, of course, getting better with my left foot, since somehow I end up on the left side every time.
You have slotted into that left back role consistently. Well, coaches believe in you. Fran Alonso at Houston Dash, the head coach there, he has put you in a specific role with that 3-back and a style that he is passionate about playing with this group. What is he asking of you as a player in that role?
I think he asked of composure and leadership. I mean, it takes a lot of gut to play with the 3-back, especially in this league. It's super transitional, and it requires leadership. It requires being comfortable under pressure, especially because so many teams presses in this league, but also requires being fluid. So stepping in, dribbling, making longer passes, short passes, being okay with going into the midfield and someone else. It requires a lot of fluidity, and I think that's actually like what our strength is on Houston, and a lot of teams don't really know how to defend it because we can play in all sorts of positions.
Paige, how's it been in that 3-back building a relationship with Jacobs and Tarciane? It's very new, but you're right, you have 3 solid players back there, and a 3-5-2 is really fun with wingbacks, if you're building and you have a good back line. So how's that relationship been with the 3 of you kind of through this since you've been there?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think the best part is they're amazing humans. Tarcy can't speak much English yet, but she has a smile the whole time. Natalie, I played with her in the spirit, and she is so positive and so encouraging that our relationship will only continue to grow. I mean, Tarcy's like 8 foot and can run. So we all bring, and she's really composed on the ball. We all bring something different. Natalie is a natural midfielder. She's really fluid on the ball, and I can play with my left or right foot. I don't know what else I have, but I think it's a really interesting relationship, and I'm excited to see where we can go.
Now, Paige, you've been a really active and forward-facing advocate for LGBTQIA+ issues, and you'll be playing for Pride in Houston this weekend. Tell me what that means to you as a person and as a player.
Yeah, honestly, like I was living in sort of a bubble in LA, and obviously women's soccer, we're very big advocates of equality with everyone and LGBTQIA+. And it wasn't until I got to Houston where I was out of that bubble. And social media comments on the Astros, our Instagram, and the Texans, I came out of my bubble and I was like, oh, I have to do this big this month again and again and again. And I'm like, we have to continue to educate. This Pride game means so much to me, especially because we have teammates on our team with wives and partners, and it's going to mean the world to me. And my wife will be there, and I want to continue to show this outpouring positive love towards others. So hopefully it can be a more accepting and loving place.
Love that.
Paige, absolutely love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thanks for joining us today on the show. It was so good to chat with you. We really appreciate it.
Great to see you, Paige.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Paige, good luck this weekend. Everyone can watch Paige and the Houston Dash as they take on Angel City Saturday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. And it's Houston's Pride Night. Lots of celebrations there. But don't go anywhere. Sandra Herrera joins us next to talk everything in the NWSL. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Attacking Third. We now welcome in our good friend of the show, Sandra Herrera, to join us. She got the memo for kits today, or jerseys. I like it. What are you wearing, bud?
I thought I'd think a little outside of the box since we've got a ton of women's sports across CBS platforms this weekend. So I'm rocking with Chicago Sky. I decided to wear the basketball jersey today instead of the soccer jersey.
I like it. It looks good. It matches your background, too. At least you're on theme. I like it.
Yeah, I try my best.
Sandra, there's been some news out of Chicago because on September 21st, the Red Stars are set to play San Diego Wave in Matchday 21. Riot Fest, which is taking part in Chicago, announced that they are going to move their festival to SeatGeek Stadium where the Red Stars have a match. Break this all down for us. What is happening?
Yeah, it's definitely a rapid timeline of events here. Riot Fest is something that has taken place in Chicago probably every fall for the better part of a decade. It is a fest, a punk rock fest that has typically moved around from park to park. And for this year's iteration, they're finally stepping away from having to deal with Chicago park districts and taking Riot Fest to Bridgeview when they're kind of rebranding it a little bit, referring to it as Riot Land. And that typically takes place over the course of September 20th to the 22nd. And the Chicago Red Stars, as everyone has noted, have a match on their schedule for September the 21st against San Diego Wave FC. So it's really brought to light a lot of I think, boiling over type of feelings over the course of the long history with the Red Stars lease with the village of Bridgeview. I think what we're seeing come to light right now from varying sources is kind of what comes next out of this. And is this going to be the moment where it's kind of marking the beginning of the end for the Chicago Red Stars and the village of Bridgeview? I think a lot of relationships in the past with this particular facility have kind of reached that boiling point. We've seen the Chicago Fire effectively kind of pay essentially $60 million to move out of that facility. And now they play their games at Soldier Field. And I think that's what comes next. Club president Karen Litzo was pretty honest, I think, and forthright in her opinion and statement and the news and reaction to Riot Fest moving to that same weekend, ultimately referring to it as unfair, kind of using that in her opening statement. So, and kind of saying like this shines a light on the discrepancies between men's sports and women's sports in terms of, you know, things that are valued in this country. So it's a lot, I think, to kind of take note. And this just dropped yesterday. So we're all going to kind of take a wait and see approach here. I'm sure there's going to be some next steps because one of those things are what's going to happen with the Red Star. Will they figure out a way with the village of Bridgeview to go ahead and pull off this event within that stadium? Because that is where the village of Bridgeview is coming for. The mayor sort of saying that they are hopeful that a resolution can be met. And the fact that this is going to be a music festival that's taking place on the outside of the parking lots means that the stadium itself is available. So the Red Stars could technically still hold this game and play at SeatGeek Stadium. But again, it provides a lot of difficult logistical things, I think, for the club as far as the type of fan day experience that they want to provide for their season ticket holders and their fans that come to games. What is a parking situation going to look like? I think these are all lingering questions. And if the solution is for them to find another location, that's very tough as well. I think Soldier Field is a place that could possibly be an option, but it's very unlikely, just probably due to the cost for a one-off event and the fact that at that point in time there will be a mix of games between the Fire and the Bears. You want to have another match take place in that facility. They just played at Wrigley. I don't think that's going to be a possibility as well. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an interesting timeline that continues to develop along the way. When I reached out to Riot Fest for a comment, they didn't have one initially, and it looks like they're kind of taking a wait and see approach as well to see if things can work out between the Red Stars and the village of Bridgeview.
Sandra, I think the Red Stars, and I know everyone on this desk feels this way, deserve so much better. I don't think if this were a men's team, we would even be entertaining this conversation. It wouldn't get out to the public even that they were considering having to move the game somewhere else. But I digress. Let's jump to Women's Sports Sunday here on CBS. What can you tell us more about it?
It's going to be incredible. You should absolutely tune in to CBS Sports for all kinds of action across the weekend. I mean, we're going to have it all. We're going to have NWSL matches. We're going to have WNBA matches. We're going to have women's golf on board as well. And I think folks are going to be excited to maybe take note of the W, especially. There's been a lot of exciting storylines coming out, between varying degrees of teams and players as well. So definitely keep an eye across the board for everything.
All right, because of Women's Sports Sunday, you put together a fun five-a-side for us, Sandra. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I thought it would be fun to maybe kind of take note of the Chicago Sky, who are going to be on CBS, and say maybe we're going to get to a five-a-side between the Fever and the Sky, since they are going to link up eventually. I'm going to go with Aaliyah Boston and Angel Reese to kind of hold things down in the back.
I love this.
Kelsey Mitchell, Marina Mabry, and Kennedy Carter to hopefully get some goals. I think they'd be some good goal scorers if we get them on a pitch.
So these are players that you think would be good at soccer, right? This is like how we came up with this fun exercise?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of was taking a look at who we're going to have available to see on CBS and say, hey, these are some players that I think would be able to kind of convert and maybe go ahead and play. And my wild card in this one, honestly, is going to be Nelly Corda as well. I think she'd actually be a really good, maybe kind of player coach, kind of bringing her thinking cap on, or I should say her golf cap on, to kind of, kind of bring that kind of vibe to this as well. So yeah, we wanted to have a little bit of fun and kind of do a modge podge of players who could, go ahead and put things together on a five-side.
Sandra, I'm curious, what's the positioning of some of these players? I'm like, okay, so the WNBA players are defenders, are they up top? Are we serving balls in?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, for sure. I like the way that graphic went, so shout out to the team for getting that up there. I got Boston and Reese kind of holding things down in the back. I think Boston is an incredible defender, and you've got Angel Reese, who's an incredible rebounder. I'd like to see if that can translate to maybe kind of a sweeping center back role, for sure, to kind of help clean things up. And look, I think Mabry and Carter and Mitchell are really, really good at getting their shots off. So I think they could provide some goal scoring for sure.
Sandra, alternatively, because there's all these games on this weekend on the network between Reign, Thorns, Bay, and Utah, who would be good at golf or basketball that you could see, balling out in some different kits?
Look, I'm going to keep it absolutely transparent and 100 with you. I'm like, look, who's really going to be a golfer? And I tried really hard not to be like, oh, let me put players who are maybe closer towards the end of their careers as like golfers. I was like, that would be so bogus for me to come on here and do that. So I don't know if I did a good job, but I've got G representing Seattle Reign for golf. I've got Christine Sinclair representing the Thorns for a good golf tournament. I've also got Oshwala and Henri for the Bay and Utah. If we were going to see a player try their hand at a golf swing, I think those are the four that can maybe represent NWSL on a golfing tournament.
You don't have any ballers in these NWSL clubs? Anyone that can?
Oh, absolutely. And I love whenever we talk about or see a lot of crossover between soccer and basketball and women's sports. I think those are the two sports that we hear about most often in terms of general crossover. I mean, whenever we hear about players and their stories about being dual athletes, oftentimes it was a decision between basketball or soccer. So I think when it comes to basketball, I've got Ziara King, Sam Coffey, Didasco, and Pogarch for ballers who I think would actually do really well in basketball as well.
I really like that shout.
I can see it.
This is such a fun game.
Sam Coffey kind of feels like she'd be good at golf just because she tucks her shirt.
You know what? I was
all about the aesthetic.
I was thinking of that too, Aaron. I was kind of going that vibe too. I was like, do I want Ziara King to be a basketball player, or do I want her to be a golfer? Because I think she could pull out some really good golf fits. Ultimately, I kept her for basketball.
I would love to see the pre-course fit from King if she's rolling up to the LPGA. Sandra, thank you. This is always fun. You always entertain us. Love hearing from you. Don't go anywhere, though. We have plenty more to come on Attacking Third. We're taking a look at the NWSL weekend ahead and previewing the matches. Welcome back to Attacking Third. Matchday 13 in the NWSL, and Pride Month celebrations continue at CPKC Stadium. Friday night as Kansas City Current hosts the Chicago Red Stars, and then Saturday action, Louisville hosting Gotham FC, North Carolina taking on Orlando Pride, and Washington Spirit hosting San Diego Wave. Houston Dash also celebrating Pride Night as they host Angel City, and two matches on Sunday. Bay FC taking on Utah Royals, the two expansion sides going at it head-to-head, and Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS, the Cascadia rivalry. Seattle Reign against Portland Thorns, the 40th meeting between these two sides, all competitions, a new league record. The Thorns coming off 3 straight wins, including a 4-0 win over Seattle reigned themselves on May 11th. However, this match is going to look different for the Portland Thorns because they are without forward Sophia Smith. She picked up 2 yellow cards, which led to a red card suspension in the Thorns' last match against North Carolina Courage. So no Smith for this match. How much of a miss is that for the Thorns?
It's a massive miss. She is the centerpiece of this team. She is an elite striker. Her movement off the ball, her pace, her ability to drive at defenders on the ball. She just brings that massive fear factor that you cannot replace. I do, however, think that this Portland team is probably good enough to still beat Seattle, who are pretty poor right now. If you're going to miss her for a game, I know this is the Cascadia Derby, but against this team, Seattle just have not been good. So
what does Seattle need to do to take advantage of this absence?
Well, you don't have to worry about the pace of Sophia Smith quite as much. So you maybe can play a little bit of a higher line, try to press a little bit higher and win the ball higher up the pitch to create more opportunities. But Portland still have a lot of options to play with. Morgan Weaver's a player who can really, really hurt you. They still have a lot of quality around the pitch, but it's going to take a big match still from Seattle to get a result, I think.
Who do you need to see step up for Portland in Smith's absence, Darian?
I think Olivia Moultrie can step up and hold the ball up in that 9 position. We've seen her play across the front line, and I think it's been really effective. Granted, with Sophia Smith in there, because I think they're 2 kind of opposite players that ask different things of their opponent. But for me, she can go in, she can play ball, she can hold up well, she has a brilliant shot. Portland needs to have an identity without Sophia Smith, so I actually kind of like this challenge for them. Coach Rob Gale has spoke in depth about how we don't want Sophia Smith to be our only attack. We don't want everything to revolve around her. So using advantages of Sinclair, of Janine Becky, of Moultrie, and a plethora of the other attackers, it'll be a good challenge for them. Seattle is not the best team in the league right now, but with Heidema back, I do think Seattle has a chance to maybe put some away because I think they really missed her in the build-up, her strength, her ability to get on the end of crosses. She had 2 goals last game. Set pieces will be really, really big for them.
4 straight losses for Seattle. They're on definitely a bit of a skid. This is an opportunity for them. In the first Cascadia rivalry of this season, Laura Harvey talked about how she was teaching the team, hey, this is the rivalry. This is what we play for. It didn't work out for them. They lost by 4 goals and they didn't get one in. Does the mentality of this match change, do you think, for Seattle?
100%. I mean, I played for Seattle, and I think back in that day, I'm talking like it was 10 years ago. It was like 4 years ago. But when I played for Seattle, it was much more of a big deal. I think because the league is so much more diverse, there's so much competition everywhere. This isn't the only matchup that, is going to be the most difficult. So I think it's lost a bit of its oomph that it used to have. I think especially because of the last game you left going down 4 goals, you have to come in and have a little bit more bite tactically on the field that makes sense and not just the energy and the heart behind it because Portland's a stacked technical team. You have to come out, you have to play. It's not just going to be based on physicality and who has more grit. You have to be clean on the ball and execute your game plans. I don't think we've seen that really from Seattle yet. Hopefully they can do it in this game along with that heart and fight that Laura Harvey brings.
Seattle at home hosting the Portland Thorns in a storied rivalry across the NWSL. But Dee, as you mentioned, the league is growing. There are more rivalries, including 2 expansion sides that go head-to-head for the first time. Bay FC taking on Utah Royals. This Royals side, they've struggled. They have lost 10 of their 12 matches. However, Utah is coming off of a not so bad performance last weekend, Darian. How does Utah build on what we saw last week?
They can build by keep creating those opportunities that aren't just through Ali Sentinor. I think we saw Utah in the middle to attacking third show a little bit more variety. Paige Monahan looked dangerous. Sentinor looked dangerous. We just need to see more from them. Get Amandine Henry more on the ball. She's a leader in her own right. Just her presence on the pitch, I think, elevates this team. But they need her to be more integrated into how they're trying to play. I think that's what Utah's really been struggling with is, how are you trying to play? I don't know if...
What is the identity?
I don't know if they can answer it, and if they can, we really need to see it. But finishing those opportunities that they create, and then really simple marking in the box defensively, their shape in the back line. It's where they were getting exploited last game, like really easy slip passes that are just a 2-step adjustment, moving your feet a little bit quicker. very fixable things that I think they can build on, and I hope we see it in this match against Bay, because you have a front line who is starting to heat up again. And if they're consistent and building on what they had last game, it's going to be a tough game for Utah's backline against Bay.
Yeah, this Utah team is in a tough situation because they don't have an identity. They don't really have they're not a team that just sits back necessarily. They're not a team that plays in possession. They haven't figured out who they are yet. They don't necessarily, I think, have the pieces to quite figure out who they are yet, or the quality to fully figure it out. And I think that this Bay team, even though they're not in the greatest form, they're a better team than Utah. They have started to figure out who they are and how they want to play, and especially playing at home against a fellow expansion team. I think this crowd will be behind them.
Yeah.
They will have taken some confidence from their last match in beating Chicago. So I think that the ball is firmly in Bay's court, and I'd give them a pretty strong favorability to win this one.
We often judge teams and kind of assess their quality based on their competition they're going up against, right? Like now we get to see two expansion sides go against each other. How much are you thinking you're going to learn from either of these sides, knowing that they're going up against a team that is also brand new this year in the league?
I think we'll learn a lot based on, we've seen Bay put together a defensive shape. Clearly one week. One other week they're working on their attacking shape. Another week they're toying with 2 6s, maybe a 1 6. Like Kiki Pickett, you go on the 6. We're seeing it slowly come together, and so then to go against a rival where you don't really know what they're going to put out. We're not sure. I don't know if Utah's that sure of what they're going to put out yet going into this game. It'll be a really good test because you also have to adapt in a game because it's going to ask different questions of you because it's going to be very unexpected. Players going against each other with different tendencies. There's a lot of young players that have never played against an opponent they're about to play against. So I really like this. I think it'll be a mark of a good rivalry between these two, but it's going to be a bit of a free-for-all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Truly set the tone for what is to come from these expansion sides.
Yeah, I think what we see on one side is Bay are forging towards an identity, and on the other side, Utah are just searching around for one. They still haven't found it yet.
I wish that they would just pick, even if it's sitting in a low.
Right.
At least Chicago,
Yeah.
I hate the way I don't like the
it.
way Chicago plays. I think they have quality to play better as Utah, but I think if Utah chose, let's sit in a low block and we're going to counter. That's going to be our thing. We're going to go down the wide channels. We're going to counter on teams. We're going to try to possess, get set pieces. We're going to try to focus on that. There's nothing that I can pick from a game where it's not just let's go through rally set more.
There's nothing confident that translates over from match to match.
Not yet.
Utah and Bay, they take each other on this weekend as Washington Spirit hosts San Diego Wave. Both of these sides at very different points in their seasons. Washington on a 4-game win streak. San Diego 4-match losing streak. For Washington Spirit, they're coming off a narrow 1-0 win over Utah Royals last weekend. What do you want to see, Darian, from Washington's attack to get the job done against San Diego?
Need them to finish those chances. It's not as if they didn't create any. That would be more of an issue. They had so many. There was, easy tap-ins at times. There was better balls that could have been played in, shots that could have been finished. I mean, granted, Maddie Hott had some great saves, 6 saves in the last 3 matches. She's had to come up big. But I think we just need them to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal because they have, one of the best quality attacking teams in the league by far. So if they're able to put away those chances, they can blow teams out, but we're seeing goalkeepers really step up this season, not just Jane Campbell for Houston. So I'm here for it. She's still having to do it, unfortunately. All credit to her because she's coming up with massive saves. But, they just need to put their chances away.
Meanwhile, for San Diego, a correction, they're on a 4-match winless streak. They have picked up draws in some points along the way, but what's the next step, Aaron, for Casey Stoney's side?
Yeah, they kind of need to rediscover their identity. They're not scoring goals, 3 goals in their last 4 matches. They've conceded 10 in their last 11, which is really pretty solid, second best in the league. So they're defending well, but they're not really. I think Jaden Shaw's form has been a little bit difficult this year. Obviously, she suffered a little bit of an injury. They really haven't clicked together offensively. I think mainly because of the injury issues they've had. They haven't really had their first choice unit playing together throughout the season. But I think this is the type of match where they need to have their entire attack really click, and we need to see that for them to really succeed.
It does look like players are on different pages in the attack. A lot of islands, runs, and passes are kind of missing each other, or there's just a lag in time almost. A player, though, that I think has been stellar for San Diego is Dani Colaprico. I actually want to do a little tactical breakdown on her one day, but she does a lot of the dirty work. I think she maintains possession well. She puts balls forward. She's able to break lines and wins a lot in the middle defensively for them. So for me, she's a player that can be key to possibly getting a win against Washington.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be a really tough matchup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I mean, both, you did Vanessa DiBernardo today as your tactical former Chicago Red Stars. Are you?
You just see the unseen.
You're something. Well, we'll see. Dani Colaprico, definitely a player to watch this weekend as San Diego travels to our nation's capital to take on Washington, D.C. But across CBS platforms, we have a weekend of great sports coming up for you. A massive Sunday in the NWSL for Matchday 13. Up first, the Cascadia rivalry is back as the struggling Seattle Reign look to snap their losing streak against eternal rivals Portland Thorns on CBS. Coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on the Golazo Network. Then at 10 p.m., it's a battle of the expansion sides. Bay FC hosting Utah Royals at PayPal Park. Kickoff is at 10 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. Plenty of fun, entertaining football to come this weekend around the NWSL, and this was fun today, guys. I like that we wore kits. We had Aaron back at the desk.
Thank you for having me, as always.
This was awesome. Thanks. And thanks everyone for watching Attacking Third today, brought to you by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. We will be back on Monday. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Watch all the women's sports across CBS, and we'll see you then.